work done as and for sacrifice, it's yagna, which sacrifice is a rough translation, but you can't really translate yagna. Say that work done as for a yagna, this world is in bondage to work. Therefore, O son of Kuntī, Kaunteya, do your work as a yagna, becoming free of all attachment. So doing work with bondage is not right, and not doing work is not right. Therefore, one should do work as and for a yagna. Shri Krishna is saying that all work that is not done as and for a yagna leads to bondage. Yagna, if you want to define it in one sentence, it's doing work for God. All work should be done for God. The most important word of this verse is yagnatat, which means yagnatat karma, in fact, work done as and for a yagna. What is a yagna? In Shankar Bhashya, it is said by Srimad Adi Shankaracharya that yagne ve Vishnu, yagne ne Vishnue, yagne ne Ishvare, yagna yat kriyate ta yagnata karman, means sacrifice is Vishnu, yagna is Vishnu, yagna is God. Therefore, the karmas that are done for God are karmas for yagna. I repeat again, yagna is Vishnu, yagna is God. Therefore, the karmas that are done for God are karmas for yagna. Therefore, that which is done for God in one's life is yagna. If you perform any act in life, then ask yourself who this act is for. That's why the Gita gives us two words in this verse. In this verse, you've got, not in this verse, it's madatar, which means for me, and in this verse, first word of the third line, tadartam, means for God. Madatam, for me, tadartam, for God. If one is performing actions for God, then there is no bondage. We say the following prayer, you've got it in your closing prayers. Look at your sheet, it says, Kayena vacha manasendriyeva buddhyatmana va prakriti svabhavat karomi yad sakalam parasmai narayanaiti samarpayami. Means with the body, with the speech, with the mind, with the senses, with the intellect, with the soul, with the disposition of my nature, every act that I am performing not for myself, I am surrendering to Narayan. If you perform actions like this, then there is no bondage. It then becomes a yagna. It's very, very straightforward. If you're performing actions for someone else, then how can you have bondage? For example, a businessman sent an agent and told him to settle accounts on his behalf. The agent did not do exactly what he was told. He got money back from the debtors and did not pay the creditors. Instead, he kept the money for himself. He told the businessman that he had paid back the creditors when he had not done so. Therefore, the businessman thought that the accounts were settled. However, the man in the middle, the agent, he took the money for himself. The first creditor came to the businessman and asked him to settle the accounts. The businessman said no, thinking that the agent had already done this. The creditor said he had not yet got the money because all communications between the businessman and the agent were the businessman's business and not the creditor's. Therefore, the creditor was only interested in his money. The agent had performed acts on the businessman's behalf. In the same way, God is saying that whatever you do, God is responsible. God becomes responsible when you do actions for God. In this case, there will be no bondage with your karmas. We have to understand this. Psychologically, it will give you peace of mind when you do things for God. This is because all the fears and worries in the world are because of myself. When there is no mine, then there are no worries. If an accountant in the office, we're targeting accountants today, if an accountant in the office is going to the bank every day withdrawing money and on other days putting money back in, does the accountant have any worries about that money? Absolutely not, because he knows that this is my boss's money. He has no worries himself. If a thief comes up to him and threatens him, then he will give the money away without hesitation. He will go back and tell his boss that the thief took the money. He had no worries about the money. But if he takes out his monthly salary, it's now given in pay slips. So let's say it was given in cash. He takes it on the train, then he'll be checking every minute he'll be checking his pockets to see if the exact amount is there. If he was worried about the money, he was worried about his own money, but he's not worried about the business money, because it's higher than quantity than his salary. Even though it's higher than quantity in his salary, he does not get worried about the business money, because the millions are in the company account, and not his, but his boss's, whereas the thousands, the salary is his. This worry is because of mine, madhattam. When you consider actions as yours, then the worries will start and there will be bondage. These actions are not yours, but God's. Narayanai ati samarpayamin. Sacrifice your actions to the Supreme Being. One who does actions in life for God does not have any bondage. In the Shankar Bhashya, Shankaracharya says that yagna is surrendering. One who performs his actions as yagna does not have any bondage. Shankaracharya says there are 5 types of yagnas, and this forms a very important topic in the Shankar Bhashya. One has to perform these sacrifices, these yagnas, all the time. Our scriptures say that when we're looking after our households, then there's some sins that we cannot avoid. Our households cannot run without them. For example, when you throw rubbish out of your house, then you commit a lot of violence because a lot of microbes are killed in that process. When you collect water in your house, then even microbes are killed because they get inside that water. You use AquaGuard to kill bacteria, for example, in your kitchen. Of course, you incur sin for killing that bacteria. Therefore, there's violence there. So when you cut or grind food, then you commit violence no matter what, because you've cleared everything. There's always specific microbes there that always get killed through violence. When you switch the gas on in your grill or cooker, the fire kills the microbes that are nearby. So no matter how much you try, such violence is unavoidable. In order to live a normal and happy life, we have to commit such sins, such acts of violence. We can't drink water that hasn't been treated. We can't cook food without lighting a fire in a cooker. We have to do these things. So how can we be free from sins when we do these things? Our scriptures say that you should perform 5 types of yagnas. Elder people remember the last part of this yagna. Guruji remembers that when he was young, there was no gas in the house. Therefore, they made chapatis on the stove. And in order to do this, the fire has to be clean. So every time the chapatis were made, the mat on the stove had to be replaced. So when the chapati would be made, then the fire would become unclean, and therefore they'd have to be replaced. This would take so long if it's still practiced today. In fact, it would be impossible. So when the mat was replaced, they used to put some rice and some ghee there, and that was part of the yagna. And after gas came, such practices don't happen anymore. As the stove's now been changed, you've got the grill and the cooker and things like that. So we've got to think about these 5 types of yagnas that we do. The first type is the rishi sacrifice, or the Brahmin sacrificed. We have to understand first what our scriptures say about this, and also how this can be applied in contemporary times, because the Gita is a contemporary scripture. It's always been a contemporary book for 5,000 years, and not an ancient book. It said in the scriptures that we should respect and serve a Brahmin who has studied the Vedas and is therefore wise, and not only him, but also his family. Vidwan, the word for wisdom, refers to someone who has studied the Vedas. While we have not done that, then we don't even have the right to put a bit of food in our mouths. If you look at it from another meaning, it also means studying from such a Brahmin. And this can be applied in the modern context. Vid means to know. It represents wisdom. Therefore, first we should have bright thoughts, and then we should apply those bright thoughts into practice as much as we can, and then we should try to spread those bright thoughts into society. So we should give them to others. This is what Brahmin Yagna is in the modern world. Therefore, before you sit down to eat, ask yourselves the question, have I done anything to spread the Vedic, Shaswat, eternal and bright thoughts of our scriptures? First of all, ask yourself if you have done this. Then ask if you have done anything to apply these thoughts into practice. So that's the first type of yagna, the Rishi and the Brahmin yagna. The second yagna is a Dev yagna. This means when you sit down to eat, you should first apply ghee, which is clarified butter, 5 times to the fire in the cooker, so the fire can be clarified. This is in ancient times. First, give the ancient example in the scriptures, and the modern example. So put ghee to the fire in the cooker, so the fire can be clarified. You won't see the second part of the sacrifice applied everywhere. You only see it in the villages of India. That is why when you go to the temples and you see a lamp being lit in front of the deity, then you should apply ghee to the fire in that lamp. And that was what Dev Yagna is. Otherwise, if there was a yagna taking place somewhere, elders remember this, people would take ghee for the fire in that yagna. So they would give that pot of ghee to the Brahmin performing the sacrifices, and this is what the scriptures call Dev Yagna. If we want to look at this contemporarily, then we should light a lamp of yagna in society. We should spread bliss, and we should spread good thoughts in society, and that is Dev Yagna. The third type of yagna is Pitru Yagna, the sacrifice of the ancestors. This means libation for the ancestors and giving peace to the ancestors. This used to be performed every day. Now, if we even do it once a year, then our ancestors are considered lucky. But they used to be performed every day. Ancestors were remembered at a certain time of the day. People used to do those things that the ancestors liked. Think about it. We've got so many reasons to be grateful to our ancestors. First of all, everything we have today is because of our ancestors. Simple. If it wasn't for them, then it wouldn't be for us. It's the most simplest of all explanations. At a ceremony of Pitru, ancestors, Guruji met a man, and he saw that people were making all these offerings to the ancestors, but this man did not feel like doing so. Guruji asked him why. He said he could not think of one thing that his ancestors had done for him, because he called himself a self-made man. He said that his ancestors had left nothing for him, and he educated himself, started his own business, and earned all these possessions himself. He said that his ancestors had left nothing for him. Guruji told him, is it not enough that your ancestors left you? There's a difference. What Guruji means to say is that you should have this gratitude for your ancestors. Do things your ancestors like. Ancestors like it when we take forward good family customs that have been around through generations. That is why Guruji tells elders to practice these customs for the next generations to advance. Otherwise, how can they advance them? At the same time, thinkers say that if wrong customs have been around in the family, then stopping these is something that the ancestors like. We'll see an example of a good family customs and bad family stopping bad family customs and taking forward good family customs. So when we want to see in India, when you want to send goods abroad, then you'd use a clearing and forwarding agency. And there was a person from such a clearing and forwarding agency that Guruji spoke to during the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. It's a Bhartiya family, and they're very well known in India. Anyone heard of them? They're very well known in India. The person I spoke to had 3 generations in his family that was alive. And he said that the elder in the family, when he was passing away, he called him and his elder brother and told them, I started this business with the strength that God gave me. You are very lucky now that you're inheriting this. The business is going well. As I'm going, I want you to promise me something. The morals and principles by which I have been living my life, if you wish to abide by these morals and principles, then use this name in your business. If you think that one day you want to do something wrong, then do it, because I'm not going to be able to stop you, though if you don't do it, then I'll like it. But I make this request that on that day, take this name that I've been using. Only then do what you want to do. The elders in the family told Guruji that they've been following these morals and principles that their grandfather gave them, and therefore God has given them great success. In Guruji's opinion, this is a way of making your ancestors happy. Here, one has thought about what the ancestors liked because they advance a good custom that the ancestors started. That is an example of advancing a good thing that your ancestors did. Now, I've also got an example of a bad custom. Hiranyakashipu from the Srimad Bhagavad was bad, and Prahlad thought that if he continued what his father did, then it would be wrong. He stopped these bad practices, and in Guruji's opinion, what Prahlad did was the best libation to the ancestors one can offer. Narsi Bhagwan became incarnated and killed Hiranyakashipu. When he asked Prahlad what boon he would like, Prahlad did not ask anything for himself, but when God insisted, so his incarnation could be complete, Prahlad asked for his father to be liberated. He asked for liberation for the same Hiranyakashipu, that tortured him throughout his life. This is prahlad. He did not ask anything for himself because he knew that he could put out his hand and get anything he wanted, but he could not take anything for God. He said that he will earn his own liberation. He therefore asked for his father's liberation. Therefore, this is Pitru Yagna, and they can be done in two ways as just described. Taking forward good practices and stopping bad practices. The fourth sacrifice is Bhuta Yagna. Bhuta, as Guruji described it, technically means ghosts in Gujarati, but it means creatures, animal sacrifices. Yagna, Bhuta Yagna, Yagna for animals. Before eating, one should take out food for cows, dogs, crows, pigeons, and so on. When Guruji was living in a village with his grandmother for 2 years, before she gave him food, she would get out some dal, chapatis and rice and put them outside the house. Guruji would ask why she put these things outside. She used to say that because there's cows and dogs outside, and this always happens. I've got a story from my own house. My grandmother, every morning, some of you may have this with your grandmothers as well, she takes chapatis and rice and things like that. She offers it to the pigeons and animals in the garden. The neighbours next door complained about the amount of animals and pigeons that gathered in the garden. She was the only one at home at the time. As soon as the council people came, she just said, no English. She closed the door on them. So this is an example of a Bhuta Yagna. Bhut means animals. In contemporary times, this Yagna entails an ecological balance. This is because whatever we are, these animals in nature have had a part to play in it. Therefore, we do this for them. This demonstrates love and reverence for life. This is Bhuta Yagna. Fifth Yagna is Manushya Yagna, sacrifice for humans. This means that in the scriptures it meant that if a hungry man comes as a guest, then one should feed him. One should use their strengths to feed him, and whatever is left, we should eat it. This is Manushya Yagna. It said in our scriptures that a house that does not feed the hungry is just wood and bricks and mortar. It says wood and a rod, or bricks and mortar in today's language, as our scriptures say. Every day, a hungry guest should come to the house. Atim chalve mahi. Our ancestors have asked for a boon that at least one hungry person gets fed in our house every day. First feed them, then eat yourself. In contemporary times, this means to enhance the pride of humanity. It means to take humanity forward. First of all, one should have a love and reverence for woman and man. This is Manushya Yagna, sacrifice for humans. One should perform these 5 yagnas, and after that, one does not get the bondage of actions that one performs. We must understand this meaning of yagna spiritually. First of all, the definition of yagna comes from the stem yaj, which includes 3 things. First, dev puja. Second, sangatikarnam. And third, dan. Okay, dev puja, first one, means worship of forms of God. Sangatikarnam, which means gathering people together for a noble purpose, which is what we're doing. And dan, which means charity. Dev puja, sangatikarnam, and dan. The majority of yagnas these days are just stopped at dev puja. Who can equal a dev? We'll see this in detail in the next verse, but the dev word dev comes from the word dadatu, and dadatu has many meanings. In short, for now, dev means one who has godlike qualities. Shri Krishna talks about these qualities in the first 3 verses of the 16th chapter. Abhayam sattva samshukka de gnana yoga vigashati danam desha swadaya svatarajavanam. Fearlessness, purity of mind, wise apportionment of knowledge, concentration, charity, self-control and sacrifice, study of the scriptures, austerity and uprightness. One who has all these qualities is godlike. We'll just go through one quality in detail because we're going to go through it in chapter 16 in 3 years when we get to it. So the first quality is fearlessness. A common man lives by fearing everything. He has so much fear in him. A person that is godlike is fearless. Note that it says fearless and not without fear. Note that it does not mean someone in whom fear comes and goes, but in someone who has no fear inside them. Say, for example, there's a dark room and there's a big rope in that dark room. People think it's a snake, so they got scared. Their hands started shaking as they thought about how they're going to escape from the room. Thousands of thoughts came to their heads. Then, with the shaking hand, they turned on the switch, the light came, and they saw that it's just a rope. Then, that fear went away. But there was a fear first, and it went away. Therefore, they're not fearless, they became without fear. The person that Sri Krishna is talking about is a person who is fearless. This person will know either by looking at the rope in the darkness that it's not a snake, and even if it is a snake, then such a person does not get scared. This is fearlessness, and one who has this is godlike. We're going to go further into this quality of fearlessness when we discuss the 16th chapter, but one who has these qualities is godlike. One should worship such devs and listen to what they say. This is dev worship. But by worship, we don't mean flowers, rice and arti. We will say that worship should have two things. The first is love, but even love is not enough. Also needs the second thing, which is work. You have to fulfill their wishes. A son has a lot of love for his mother. Let's say, for example, he treats his mother like a god. Every morning he does a chandla on her forehead, makes offerings to her, puts a garland around his mother, he lights a lamp for her, he does an aarti for her, and he runs around saying how beautiful his mum is, he compliments her, makes her feel special. He does this every day, and then when he turns 20, his mother asks him for water because she's thirsty, and he replies, "Mother, you've been giving me water all these years, can you not get water yourself?" Has he therefore done proper worship of his mother? No, he has love, and he said all of these things to her, but he also must work to fulfill her wishes. This would be the biggest worship. Therefore, their worship requires both love and for you to fulfill the wishes of great personalities. You should listen to them and put into practice what they say. Give them importance. There's a very, very famous verse in Sanskrit, means Chitta narasyu puja pujyante ramante devata, meaning worship of women is dev worship. Let's repeat again. Chitta narastu puja pujyante ramante devata, meaning worship of women is dev worship. Does not mean that a husband should make his wife sit on a stool and do an aarti of her. It means he should value her opinion. Because there has been a time where what women said was not regarded as important by men. It's still in practice in some places today. If you go to places like Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh, women are not allowed to take part in the decision-making in the household. They have these ridiculous statements saying that women have no intelligence. When a daughter becomes of marriageable age, then two men go and decide the marriage. They come back home and tell everyone that they have fixed that girl's marriage. Standing behind the door, the girl's mother hears all of this. At night, she tells her husband that this decision is not right because that family is not right. The husband just tells her to sit down and says that she knows nothing. As soon as he told her to sit down, that worship was finished. Worship of women means to value their opinion. They have the intelligence, in fact more intelligence men, and dev means to do that which God says, and it also means worship of women. Not just love, but work as well. That was the first part, Dev Puja. Second part, Sangati Karnam. This means to organize. This means to gather good people. This is normally very easy to do. When the movie actress comes to Leicester Square, then thousands of people gather there. It's so easy to gather a lot of people together. Therefore, a yagna does not just happen by gathering people together. You must also take them forward in the right direction. You have to make them like-minded. And then, therefore, you have to do two things. The first is to get like-minded people together. Second is to make them like-minded. This may take years because tunde matera bina. Different people think different things. Different people say different things. Some people think that they're all knowing, all knowledgeable. Some people think that they're this. Some people think they're that. But this is Sangati Karna, gathering people for a noble purpose, which is exactly what we're doing right now. The third part of sacrifice is dhanam, which means donations. We have to be useful and give to others. When you give ghee to a Brahmin, clarified butter to a Brahmin as a sacrifice, then he has these earthen lamps and small bowls next to him. The Brahmin tells you that you should pour some ghee into the fire, saying swaha, but then you should put 2 drops of ghee into that small bowl. If you do this, then you say Om Indreya Swaha Idi Indreya Namaha. you have to say this with every drop. This means this is for Indra and not for me. The human thinks that he has poured the ghee and that he has poured the ghee, therefore he has to say this. Thus, we have three parts of the sacrifice: Dev Puja, Sangatikarnam and Dhanam. Only when you do worship after you perform an action do you get satisfaction. For example, if you say Ganesh's name, then you will know that it is for Ganesh and not for you. Some thinkers and saints go so far to say that when you do a recitation during a yagna, you say iti at the end. For example, Srimad Bhagavad iti, Brahma Sutra iti, Shri Krishna Samvade, Arjun Vishad Yog Nam, Samkhya Yoga Nam iti Yodaya. One should not stop there, because until then it's yours, but at the end you say Shri Krishna Aparamastu, then the sacrifice becomes complete. Until you have the attitude of holding on to the fruit, then the yagna does not become complete. Gandhiji has said it very nicely and simply in Gujarati, that anasikti, about attachment, that he who stops acting falls, and he who acts but leaves the fruits climbs. I repeat again. He who stops acting falls, he who acts but leaves the fruit climbs. This is what karma yoga is. When you perform yagna, these three things stated above, namely Dev Puja, worship of the gods, Sangatikarnam, gathering people together for a common cause, and Dhanam, charity, are essential. Okay, that's the yagna part of it. Then Shri Krishna uses the name Kuntī for Arjuna. If you look at it, it says Kuntī, which is the last word in the third line. Kuntī. There are three meanings for this. The most simple meaning is that Arjun is Kunti's son. First of all, Shri Krishna is reminding Arjun of his relation. He's reminding Arjun that he's Kunti's son, and Kuntī is a sister of Shri Krishna's father, and hence his aunt. Therefore, Shri Krishna and Arjun are brothers. Shri Krishna is saying, have faith in me because I am your brother. I will not take you down the wrong route. Tadatam karmaya Kuntī means, O son of Kuntī, do your work for me. Shri Krishna is telling Arjun to do his work as a yagna, and then he will not let him get trapped in bondage. First meaning, brother. Second meaning, Kuntī means the son of a mother with a sharp mind. Note that it doesn't say Pandava, it says Kuntī. In ancient India, warriors used to be called by their mum's name, it's not their father's name. I don't know any culture, when people say that Indian culture puts women backwards, I don't know any culture in the world that calls sons by the mother's names. Kuntī. If you see in the first chapter of the Gita, it gives various names of warriors, they use their mother's names. Only in Indian culture. If you know another culture, let me know, but I've not heard of one. Neither has Guruji. Second meaning of Kuntī means son of a mother with a sharp mind. Thoughts are born from the intellect, and therefore Shri Krishna is telling Arjun that he is a sharp thinker. Therefore, Shri Krishna is telling him to have the right thoughts and think in the right direction. That is why he calls him Kuntī. The third meaning is that Shri Krishna is reminding Arjun of the time he went to negotiate peace in Hastinapur. In the midst of the Kauravas, Shri Krishna tried very hard to make Duryodhana understand. However, Duryodhana did not understand. If you see or read the Mahabharata, then you observe that Shri Krishna did bargaining if a person had gone to a vegetable market to do some bargaining. This is what Shri Krishna did for Duryodhana. Shri Krishna told Duryodhana that if we look at it one way, Duryodhana, then the whole kingdom belongs to the Pandavas, and therefore you should give it back to them. Duryodhana said, no, I will not do it. Shri Krishna said, fine. If you don't want to give them back the whole kingdom, then give them back half the kingdom. You get half, they can keep half. Duryodhana said, no, I will not do it. Shri Krishna then said, at least give the Pandavas back the kingdom that they built with the hard work and sacrifices at Indraprastha, which you snatched from them irreligiously, unrighteously during that game of gambling. Duryodhana said, no, I won't even give that back. Shri Krishna said, there are 5 brothers in the Pandavas, just give them 5 brothers and there will be no war. I promise you that, Duryodhana. At that time, Duryodhana said, Suchasya graham devyas yasmin na yude kesava, meaning, O Kesav, without war, I'll not give them even land the equivalent of a needle's eye. Shri Krishna showed Duryodhana the Vishwarup, the universal form of God, and still Duryodhana did not understand. Apparently, Shri Krishna, feeling hopeless, the Supreme Soul himself, feeling hopeless, went to Vidu's house and asked his aunt Kuntī what he should do. He said that he tried so hard to make them understand, and it was his wish that this war should not happen. He said that he tried so hard to prevent this war, yet Duryodhana is not prepared to understand. Shri Krishna asked her what he should do. At that time, Kuntī said, Lord, go to the Pandavas and tell them to get ready. What do they think they're doing? They do not see the hair of Draupadi hanging out? There are 5 sons, and yet the mother still has to live in the village in poor conditions. Does this suit them? Kuntī said a beautiful verse, Yadatam Kshatriya Sute Sakalo Ya Upasita, meaning, the reason why the mother of a Kshatriya gives birth to her sons, the time for that has come. Why does a mother of warriors give birth? So that when such situation comes, then the warrior can be of use. A child can be of use. That time has come. She tells Shri Krishna to order Arjuna to get his bow and arrows ready, because now war is for their own welfare. She sent this message to Arjuna. To remind Arjuna of this message, Shri Krishna uses the word Kaunteya. Shri Krishna is telling Arjuna to remember his mother's words. He is reminding Arjuna that this is the reason for which his mother has given him birth. Therefore, the names Shri Krishna uses to address Arjuna are always meaningful. The word Yadatam, with Tadatam, means for him. There's a very, very beautiful story from Guru Nanak's life. Early on in life, Guru Nanak was working in his job. His job was to sell food to soldiers of the guard. He used to sell wheat and rice and so on, and he was selling these foods from his store one morning. He was measuring the bags of grain on the scale, and therefore he had to count them. He started counting in Hindi, but I'm saying in English. He said first, second, third, fourth, fifth, all the way it got to the 12th. As soon as it got to the 12th, it all went wrong. What went wrong became a revolution in Nanak's life. Sometimes in life, even small things can become revolutions, and one's whole life changes. It was all going right until the 12th bag, and as soon as the 13th came, Nanak said the Hindi word for 13th. We could say, Gyara, Bara. What's the word for 13th? Tera. The meaning of the word Tera was interpreted by Nanak as gods. It says, Tan man dan, sab kuch jo hai, wo Tera. After the 13th, the 14th didn't even come. When Nanak placed the next bag, he still said Tera. When he placed the bag after that, he still said Tera. He just kept saying Tera, 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 Tera. A crowd of people gathered around him, thinking that he had gone mad. So many bags were emptied, and he just kept saying Tera, Tera, Tera. One does not even need to say that Nanak got removed from his job. Nanak said, now that I have said that, there is nothing else that I need to say. What can I now say? He left that job, but now his job for the Supreme Soul began. Whatever was his was Tera, or God's. Decide on everything you do in life, whether it is yours or God's. During a yagna, 2 things are important. First, the sacrifice, the yagna, should not be for you, but for the Supreme Soul. And secondly, you must know that you are not in the sacrifice. First, the sacrifice, the yagna, should not be for you, it should be for the Supreme Soul. And second, you must know that you are not in the yagna. You must get rid of this ego. Because we cannot remove this ego so easily, Rishis have given us another route. We have to dilute the ego. This is why the Rishi says that one should never do a yagna alone. You have to sit with other people. The reason for this is that you do not think that you have done the sacrifice. Because when 2 people are sitting there, then you have to say that we did the yagna, not I did this yagna. We does not include you, but it includes others. And therefore, it's a negative, not me, but we. The ego gets diluted, and this is a yagna. In a yagna, the resolve is important, and once you have this resolve, then you can do what God wishes. If everyone in the world does such a yagna, then there will be a whole worldwide yagna. With both hands and the feet, there is nothing but a yagna in this world. Everything that is belongs to everyone. We gave that example of nature before we said this verse. Why is water there? Is water there for itself? No. Water is there for everyone else. Why is the sun there? For whom has this yagna of the sun been going on for so long? It has been going on for others, so other people can get light. Who does the wind blow for? Does it blow for itself? No, it blows for others. What about trees? Our scriptures say, Phalavan phalayanti vrukshaha. Do trees grow fruit for themselves? Have trees ever eaten their own fruits? They grow fruits for others. Everything that happens in nature happens for others, and if we leave out human life for it. If you take out humans, everything in nature happens for others. This is because whatever humans do, they just do for themselves. Not only that, before doing anything, they think 10 times, what will be there in this for me? Only if there's something in this for me, will I be able to do it. He who does everything for others will always have this bliss and happiness in life. Guruji remembers this event from Swami Haridas's life. He was Tansen's guru. Tansen was one of Akbar's 9 jewels. Musicians came from all over the world to display their talents to Akbar. They had this one wish that Akbar likes their music, that they might get Tansen's place in Akbar's 9 jewels. They get so much fame, wealth and possessions, it was their nature that they were greedy for wealth. Akbar listened to their music, but thought that they were good, and they must have had some confidence to come to the court, but nobody can take Tansen's place. One night, Akbar had the thought that while he was sleeping, that there were so many singers that came to perform at his court, but none of them could compare to Tansen. Then, what could the person from whom Tansen learnt music, his guru, be like? The next day, in the royal court, Akbar asked Tansen that he had no doubt he was great, but he asked who Tansen's guru was. Akbar said he wanted to listen to the music of Tansen's teacher. As soon as Tansen heard this reference to his guru, his face lit up. He said, "My guru is just great. I am like a camel and he is like the desert. Until one has seen this desert, then the camel looks very great. But when the camel goes to the desert, then you know that this is the camel and this is the desert. I am nothing." When he praised his guru this much, then Akbar thought he had to go and meet his guru. Akbar said he wants to hear this music and asked Tansen to call him. Tansen said he won't come. Akbar asked why, because he would give him what he wanted. Akbar said that he would give him a red carpet treatment and would give him money from the royal treasury. Some people are such that if you throw money at them, they'll do anything. But there are some things in life that cannot be achieved by throwing money around. Akbar said he really wanted to listen to the music. Tansen said, "My guru only sings for the Supreme Soul and not for any human, and they would he would only sing if they go and watch him sing. His guru only sings songs of love, of devotion to God." Tansen said that if he wanted to hear his guru singing, then he should come with him. Akbar said fine and asked him what time they should go. Tansen said this would be before sunrise at 4 a.m. Tansen also said that other people would gather there as well. This is because whenever there is such a great devotee of high stature, then watching that service itself is a blessing in itself. Akbar asked where his pupils went to watch him sing and asked if Tansen could reserve his place. Tansen said that this would not be possible because over there would be no king, there would be no Tansen, Tansen would not be the royal musician, and there would be no positions of status there. There would be no king and no subjects there. This whole palace is different there because it is Hari's palace. Hari has 2 meanings here. The first is God and the second is Swami Haridas, his guru. In Hari's palace, no one is upper class and no one is lower class. They got up early and they went. They sat down and watched. Swami Haridas began singing for the Supreme Being. Tansen had said the day before that his guru does not take diamonds and jewels. They thought about what they should take and therefore they took bottles of perfume. Akbar was very interested in perfumes. So Swami Haridas, he put a pile of there in front of Swami Haridas, and what Swami, he took these precious perfumes in bottles as presents. Swami Haridas, what he did, he picked up the pile of bottles, threw them into the mud, emptied the perfumes in the mud. Akbar thought he had bought such expensive bottles of perfume, and Swami Haridas was putting them in the mud. But what could he do? He had already given them to him, and therefore Swami Haridas had the right to do with them as he chooses. you cannot tell someone you give a gift to what he should do with that gift. The second song started, and it was even more beautiful than the first. Akbar really liked this song and gave him another bottle. Swami Haridas emptied that bottle again into the soil. The same thing happened with the third and the fourth bottles. Akbar got sad. When Swami Haridas was about to pour out the fifth bottle, Akbar could not bear it any longer and said, "Swamiji, what are you doing? These perfumes are so expensive, you cannot find them anywhere. You're just throwing them into the mud." Swami Haridas just started laughing out loud and said, "Akbar, today's song is finished. Go and worship God and then go back to your palace." It said that when Akbar went to pray to Swami Haridas's deity of God, he smelt that same perfume he smelt that same perfume in the deities of God's dress that he had given to Swami Haridas as a present. Akbar was shocked that the same perfume that he thought was so precious and could not be found anywhere in the world, and he had brought there, Swami Haridas had that same perfume, because he could smell it in God's dress. He came out completely shocked and asked Swami Haridas where he had got that perfume from. Swami Haridas said, "Akbar, you just gave the perfume yourself just now." Akbar said, "But the perfume I gave you, you just poured it into the mud." Swami Haridas said, "You saw that I poured it into the mud, but when I was singing my songs of devotion to God, my God was just sitting there right in front of him, and I was pouring the perfume on him. That is why you smelt the perfume on that dress." Do your work for God. Akbar could not see that Swami Haridas's God was sitting there next to him. Akbar thought that he was just singing for him. Why did Swami Haridas sing that song with so much bliss? Why was Swami Haridas so absorbed in that song? Because the song was for no one but God. The bliss when singing for God is a completely different thing. Or acting for God is a completely different thing. If you want to do this, then start it at a small level for the smallest of jobs. Decide each day that you do at least one act for God. Then this work will become a yagna. You can start this from today. Work as a yagna is that in which there is no wish. There is work from which you do not want anything. You don't want money from that action. The whole concept is completely different. You don't want punya, merits for that action. You do not want fame for that action. You don't want people to praise you for that action. You don't even want heaven from that action. You don't even want karmas from that action. You can put karmas by that side. Say, "God, this is for you. This is a yagna." Such an actions you will do will be great. Do your work as a yagna. Then there comes a time in life where all your desireless actions become yagnas and your whole life becomes a yagna. Raja, you can stop that recording. Sorry guys.